Good morning, students. Welcome once again to today's lecture online. Last week, my name again, for those of you who are just joining us, is Mrs. Daphne Neje. I'll be anchoring on this class for the next 40 minutes. If you're just joining us, I suggest you get some of the previous lessons from your classmates. You could also possibly email me if there's a way I can help you. I'll also do that. And then last week we talked extensively on studio broadcast media, talking about the radio. We did a lot on radio equipment, talked about what a studio is, what it looks like. We had, I recall, I displayed, so many equipments here on the screen, and today we want to wrap that up quickly so that we could go into the television. Now, here we have all about the essential broadcast and production equipment. Like I just said, when we started, broadcast is about electronics media, while which comprises TV and radio. And so that is why a major discussion has been on the radio and the television. Now here we have more of the equipment here, as you can see. Talking about the radio broadcast, what we talked about, which we talked about last week. I wouldn't want to go into that again, but you could see some of the more points that you may want to add to the ones you got last week. Now let's talk about the television broadcast. Again, many of the techniques used in a radio broadcast are similar to television broadcast, only on a smaller scale. Essentially, a television broadcast uses multiple cameras running to a computer editing program. Okay, so this software or hardware combination uses something such as a big newsroom, although there are other options out there for live broadcasts. Now the video feeds from to where the producer is located, and they can select which video is then transmitted. We talked about all of this. Now let's zero into the broadcasting studio and theatrical equipment, and of course we want to zero on mostly TV equipment. Now here we have video equipment, broadcasting studio and theatrical supplies include many different types of video production equipment beyond cameras and monitors. And the TV, when you talk about TV, you're talking about the visuals. So as a result of that, they deal mainly on cameras. It has to do more with saying visual has to do with the eyes. So as a result of that, we talk more of the cameras. So in a TV studio, we have more of cameras. Okay, we have different types, and like I said in the previous class, the quality of gadgets a station has depends on their financial capabilities, their strengths. So the more sophisticated the studio is, the more financial buoyant they are, the more quality equipment they get. So it varies. We have the audio mixers, we have speakers, amplifiers, portable sound systems, audio cables, headphones and headsets, sound testers, wireless communication devices, audio workshops, and all of that. We have in a TV station, like I said, some of this you may have to, you get to know them better when you take do excursion to all the stations that will help the grade them, and then to also help you to have a first-hand, feel of these gadgets. Now, I just want to talk briefly on studio management. All right, studio management, and of course, I suggested to you that you read more of the notes you'll be given on the management, because you can also apply that to managing a studio. It has to do with organizational, my management structures, which could be applied in any organization. But then coming specifically, let's look at who is a studio management, or what is studio management. Now, studio managers are able to work in multiple industries and settings such as music, graphic design, or television studios. I will giving you an overview of what studio management is all about. Now, they also have prior experience in fields such as communication, music production, engineering, or broadcasting. Now, due to the various settings in which a studio manager may work, their job duties may vary. However, the general requirements of the jobs are to be able to supervise a staff and oversee the daily operations of the studio, just like that is how also the duties of a studio manager depends on the kind of studio he is managing, right? But of course, there are standards. Okay, there are how should I put it now? There are skills which are standard that in whichever studio that a manager is operating. Now, no matter in what industry a studio manager works, he or she must be prepared to become part of a fast-paced organization that carries a significant amount of stress. Like I also mentioned, the media is meant for people that have a lot of stress. Strength. You should, as a journalist or as a media personality, be able to, how should I put it now? You should be able to contain, all right, a lot of stress, because the environment you're going to work in requires that. So, according to the Bureau of Labor, that's in the U.S. Statistics, studio manager demand that studio managers are housed in the broad category of managers. They're expected to grow 6% through 2024. So what this means that amounting to more than 42 on annual for studio managers, according to World Rating, there's a percentage growth of about 6% between now and 2024. This is 2020. So in the next 4 years, the work of a studio manager is expected to increase by about 5%, and that will be having more jobs, about 42 openings, jobs over there in the UK and the US. And here in the country, yes, depending on the pace in which our own industry is growing, but of course, you can always just suppose some of those things and be able to project that. If you want to take up the job of a studio manager, it may be a good one because it's quite like as you can see, it's a promising job. So what you have to do is to make sure you get the skills that are required. Now, studio manager duties and responsibilities. To achieve the first priority of managing staff and overseeing the daily tasks of the studio, a studio manager must be able to manage people and time. Okay? So several researches have shown that studio managers come with these core responsibilities and duties. You must be able to manage just like in other, organizations. We don't have it all the time. That was why I didn't want us to go into management. But for some of you that has my handout, you can see that we did a rundown of managerial abilities in them. But what I can do for this class is maybe at the end of the class, I can just send you a clips of what is required. Now, general management, depending on the size of the organization, the studio manager may have only a few or a large team of employees to supervise. Studio managers are often responsible for hiring, organizing, and training employees. Scheduling. The schedule is an important part of the studio manager's job. The studio is in business to provide time, space, and equipment for clients' use. So the studio manager must decide on the best use of each day's time, as well as the studio space and equipment to maximize the profits and productivity of the studio. And the studio is also meant to, rake in revenues for the organization that is running it. So sometimes people hire a studio to do some things and they pay for it. So it is the studio's manager's job to know all about this, how to, have business relationship between this organization and the corporate bodies out there. You should know about how much could be made from each program. So these are part of his parole. These are things that he must know, or she. All right. Then invoicing and tracking. When clients utilize the studio's resources, they are charged for usage. Now, the studio manager is responsible for setting up client accounts, invoicing clients for their time, and tracking the invoices to make sure they are paid in full. Okay, so these are some of the administrative aspects of the studio manager. So let's look at the technical tasks. Studio managers must be called upon to install, operate, obtain, or troubleshoot technical equipment. They may also have to schedule repairs of the equipment. Therefore, technical experience is also needed. Studio management skills. Successful studio management. Successful studio managers are well-organized multitaskers who have a habit of accomplishing all of the responsibilities that face them. They are well-spoken. Of course, we've talked about communication skills. That was what we started with. A studio manager must be very, very efficient in communication. So, as they often at the first point, they are well spoken, as they are often the first point of contact for visiting clients. All right. So, in addition, they are the first point of call for visiting clients. So they are the interface between the organization and their clients. Clients being their customers or your corporate organizations they work with or the do business with. So the communication skill, like I said in previous classes, you could either put off, a prospective client or customer, or you could also win them by the way you are able to communicate with them effectively, or the way you are able to relate the company's, interest, the company's services to them could attract them or could piss them off. So in addition to these general skills and personality traits, employers are looking for studio managers with the following skills. Please, I want you to look at the screen carefully. We have core skills according to the job listings. We looked at employers with studio managers with the following core skills: team management skills, time management skills, client relation skills, accounting skills, flexibility and adaptability skills. Then the advanced skills required. While most employees were checked out, that was checked out did not specifically require for the following skills. Some included them as preferred. Okay, so open up your career options. Consider adding this to your studio management so forth. So what this means is that all that we listed above are the basic requirements. But aside that some employers are there or clients are there also needed some other ones like specialized training related to the industries in which you want to work, such as graphic design, recording, automation, production. So aside from the skills, these other ones that are basically more of administrative skills, you could also go for the technical skills. That makes you an all-rounder and gives you an edge over others. So your experience managing large teams of people can serve you well if you apply with a large organization. So some of all these things are things you could do as you could do do them as a service, as a voluntary service to some organizations, so you can acquire the skills. And of course, when they're in your CV, it will always give you an edge when you go for interview. Now, tools of the trade, studio managers use many different tools in their daily work. So if you can plan on pursuing a career as a studio manager, you should be proficient in using the following: word processing programs such as Microsoft Word, spreadsheet programs such as Microsoft Excel, invoicing software, complex production equipment, project and event scheduling applications. So these are all some of the things you have to get yourself equipped with. All right. Yes, thank God GTS, do some of this, if not all. There are, courses that have been deliberately selected for students. So sometimes students are asked to do courses like accounting. Some of you come and ask me for goodness sake, what do we have to do with accounting? What is our business with bank? We're mass comm students. So please, you should know you have to, these are the skills that you require. Don't forget that the world is going entrepreneurial. It's not that it's going, the world is already into entrepreneurial, job. So you don't wait for some of our business. You have to go beyond your what's it called? Beyond your core course. Beyond your core course, these are skills that you must acquire to be relevant in our present age. Okay, things are changing fast. So all of these are things that you must on your own. So what am I trying to say is that when you are in your computer classes, when you are in your accounting classes, when you are in bank classes, please take time and learn all that you're supposed to know. Don't just sit there as let me just let even if it's let my people go, let me just start this course. I'm not saying computer programming. No, these are the skills that will make you relevant globally. Now, these are questions and answers which we cannot go through. Talking about what are some of the core duties performed by a studio manager, what challenges does a studio manager face, what skill does a studio manager use, what should someone consider before becoming a studio manager, what type of person is successful in this job, what do you find to be most rewarding about studio manager. Now, please, I want you to take down this as your assignments. All right, while we try to run through it on your own, please let me pause here and allow you to take down this so that you could, on your own, do more extensive research on it. I'll take it again. What are some of the core duties performed by a studio manager? What challenges does a studio manager face? What skills do studio managers use most? What should someone consider before becoming a studio manager? We talk some of those things. Physical strength. You should be strong mentally, physically, and all of that. So, and what type of person could be successful in studio management? All right. So let's now go into broadcast presentation. If you have questions, like I've always said, you could do me a WhatsApp, have my phone number. You could also send your emails to my email. Please let me say again, I prefer assignment sent to daphne@gmail.com. daphne@gmail.com. Broadcast presentation. Now, a broadcast presenter is the face or voice of programs. Okay? As a presenter, you're seeing at the face and the voice of the program. That is, it is either via television or radio and the internet. When you're broadcasting, you're either broadcasting, you're presenting your program on television, or you're doing it on the radio or on some kind of social media. So you introduce hosts or co-host a program. You create links between items, introduce and interview guests, and interact with the audience. All right, that is what presentation is all about. So basically, as a podcast, you interface with audience. Okay, you can create programs on your own. You do a lot of interviews. You can interview guests. and you can interact with the audience. Now, a presenter is a person or organization responsible for the running of a public event, or someone who conveys information on media via a broadcasting outlet. Right? Please mark that word. You convey information on media via a broadcasting outlet. Now, that outlet could be a TV, it could be a radio, it could be an internet, it could be one of the social media that are available. Now, I want to give you some tips basic tips that you could use in a presentation. Now, you have to use visual aids, all right? And you have to make it short and brief. And of course, before you could do that, that means you must possess a good writing skill. Remember your use of English. You said preciseness and conciseness is the soul of a good writing. The shorter it is, the sweeter. Of three, you have to rehearse. You have to learn how to tell stories. Okay, broadcasting is about narratives. Use the bullet points. Don't put your speaker notes up on the screen. You have to project it. Allow your audience to see them. Then, of course, you should have a backup plan. These are basic. So let's go into radio broadcasting or radio presentation. Now, there are 5 basic rules here, and there are about 20 more that I don't know if we'll be able to go through them, but let's try. Let's try. Now, the basic rules: be the authentic you. People who are the same in real life as on the air make the best presenters. So what that means that it must be accepted that sometimes you have a stage fright. What is called stage fright. So you don't use unnatural words or phrases you wouldn't say in everyday life, and never laugh unless you do. So what does it be yourself? Okay, don't sound to the presentation one is about communication, and like I've always said, you're not out to present to impress, but you are out to communicate. Okay, so to communicate, you have to be real. You have to be relaxed. And I've also said this in use of English classes that one of the ways you learn how to be relaxed is to always contribute in conversation. Whenever you are in a class and the lecturer wants you to be interactive, be up and doing. Say something. Don't think the whole world is listening to you. Yes, you may make mistakes the first time, but the more you try, the better. Because the only way to learn how to speak is to speak. So that's one of the ways to go about it. In churches, in your church, wherever you see people talk, wherever you have opportunity to contribute to a talk, make sure you do that. All right. Then talk to one person. Radio is an intimate medium, so it has to do with like you see yourself as if you're talking to one person. It is best when aimed at an individual, so polarizing high listeners break the bond between presenter and listener. So you use you as much as possible instead. So you try to do it like a one-on-one thing. It creates a kind of bond. Of course, you tell the truth. One of a renowned presenter, John Ram, said, "Tell the truth and never be boring." Okay. Then rule 2, fill the length. A great link might be 4 seconds or 40 minutes at best. So trust your producer as they might be a better job of when it's time to stop. So don't try to overstretch the time allotted to you. If you're a sole broadcaster, listen to your own show. If you find your links too long, then they will definitely go on the listener. So this thing boils down to the rules of being precise and concise. So what that means is that you should always edit your scripts before coming on air. Now respect the music. Talking over the beginning or end of a song is like vandalizing a piece of art. The only exception in which songs that play that never start talking. So the song has at least reached the chorus after the middle. So this has to do with the music. Those that are into music production. to obey that. Then number 5, life is spread. Keep a notepad or phone with you at all times. Read a magazine or watch a show you've never tried before. It will give you new ideas. Over preparing can be as bad as under preparing. Remember that radio is an art form, not a science. So this again brings out the, you know, the journalism, the creativity in you. Generally, the media or mass communication is about arts. So you should always have a new idea of doing things. You should always have adding a new life, or new zest to your everyday activity. So have new ways of speaking, have new ways of presenting your show, the broadcast, have new ways, And the only way you could do that, like the suggested there, is to read. There are no two ways about it. Read magazines, read and watch talk shows, read newspapers, read whatever you could read. There is no knowledge that is lost. Then we have these 20 rules, just run over them. Keep cool, do your research, engage with your radio station, always pre-read scripts, all of this. You have to always have your notepad, always reread, prepare before going on air. Don't be prejudiced. Now, this has to do with many people have made careers out of being controversial, offensive, and edge. Okay? And maybe you can too, but it's best to know where to draw the line. Your behavior as a presenter doesn't just affect you. You are also representing the entire station every time you're on air. So presenting yourself as being prejudiced or bigoted, even in the name of a joke, makes you more trouble than you want. So what's this? This also, relates us to the rules of the practice of journalism. You are expected to always separate yourself, from the news or from the event you're presenting. So you may have your bias, you may have your beliefs, but as much as possible, don't allow it to come in your presentation. Maybe you're talking about a particular tribe, maybe the way they talk, maybe the kind of food they eat, or the way they dress, their clothing. So as much as possible, don't allow the negative aspect of it to come into your talk. As much as possible, be positive, all right? If you must talk about people's culture, if you must talk about people's lifestyle, make it nice, okay? Look for something good that you can talk about. And if there's nothing good that you want to talk about, there's no point bringing them up. That talks more of you being prejudiced, and it's not good for you, it's not good for your organization. As well as that, a reputation of intolerance is going to follow you to any other. So you have to learn to tolerate people. So what that means that sometimes if you're doing like a calling program, some people can call and tell you, see, what nonsense are you talking about? Some people can be really, really nasty on you, but as a journalist or as a media personality, you don't talk back. As much as possible, you see them as your clients. And it's said that your customer is king. So it also applies here. So your audience or your clients, if you can put it that way, they are king. So sometimes if you're very conversant with TV programs or radio programs, you see sometimes some callers phone in, and I tell you, they are really, really nasty. They bash the presenter. So you don't flare up, As much as I'm not there, I understand the grievances, but we are doing our best to make sure that we put things in shape. We're sorry, Some may tell you what kind of radio station I'm operating. All the time we can't get to you. When you're just using 2K rubbish. Don't you know you're running people's battery down and all of that? So no matter how aggressive, okay, that people are while on air, we don't, okay, it's unprofessional to begin to have trade wars with people, it's not right. So you have to check that. So just be polite and help all of your listeners feel welcome to your shows. And when you fail to prepare, then be prepared to fail. All right. So unlike many things, we know your job doesn't start and end in the studio. Yes, but being a great radio presenter means there's always something to do. That is paperwork, arranging guests, working with producers. So these are endless. So you do as much as you can. Never forget your roots. Authenticity is very appealing to audience. Part of being an authentic presenter is staying true to your roots. Even if you're on a worldwide level, how many times have you been someone like fame? Okay, how many times have you seen someone like fame get to their head? I mean, from someone lets fame get to their head and change them entirely as a person. So these are things you have to look at for as you climb the ladder of because TV personalities, they're celebrities. So as you appear more and more on radio, you're known. So you don't allow it to get into your head. You have to stay grounded, maintain a humble attitude, and level perspective will give you more distance than acting like a jack. No matter where you are now, you started as a son. So what this is trying to say, be yourself, all right? Because by the time you begin to present programs, you anchor events, you're going to meet many personalities. So persons could just see you and just rush into you, out of excitement. You may not like that, but because you are now a celebrity, you have to accommodate that. So somebody can just rush into you, somebody can just scream your name, some of those things that people do out of excitement. Oh, is this you? My God, so you don't be snobbish, don't ignore them. Maybe as much always wear a smile and make people feel welcome. Now you don't take yourself too serious, or no one will. Okay. Now pretensions full of yourself, positive, all of they shouldn't. If you want to be a great radio presenter, you have to be likable. All right, you have to be likable. That is your trademark, and nothing screams unlikable like taking yourself too seriously. All right, as much as possible, having confidence and dignity is fine, but if you're unable to make a joke and act snobby and be excited excitement, you're going to push audiences away. So become a pain to work with. You're going to push people away and become a pain to work with. And probably you may come across as more than a little, ridiculous. That is, people will look at you as a ridiculous person, as a person who is not confident, as a person who has a phobia, as a person who has a complex. All right. So learn to laugh along with people and don't always take criticism personal. This is somebody can say, I didn't like what you said. My sister, we are not we're not super divers. Sometimes we are also human. That makes us human. So you need to laugh at yourself. Professional and punctual. You have to be punctual. Now the beauty of radio is that you're heard but never seen. However, it doesn't mean you should come to the office in your pajamas and sympathy. So what we're trying to say is that as a radio presenter, you may end up working in a radio station as a student then your final year. So always look your best, okay? Dress nicely, relaxing before a show, always be on time, early and acting professionally, put face in others that you know what you do. When you do all of this, when you dress well, okay, when you speak well, when you're on time, it adds to your reputation. It adds to the way people look at you. When you act professionally, of course, you'll be taken as a professional. But when you don't, you know what that is. So, okay, so sometimes you may have to go present a program. So as much as possible, be accommodating. Don't try to overshadow the other person or pick at the person's. Try to even cover up. When the other person seems not to be getting it, don't make it obvious because you want to outshine. You're not in a competition, remember, but you're just there to present a program. Of course, you have to be focused and all of that. Then community focus, know your station like the back of your hand, learn yourself, digital skills, share numbers of your life on air, paint pictures to stay updated and all of that. So these ones have to do with I think we're done with a radio presentation. Then we can talk about CV. Please, there's so much here. I just want to point out one or two things that you have to do on CV presentation. before we wrap it up. We have barely 3 minutes to go. So yeah, maybe in the next class we'll try to do something on the CV presentation so that we will have concluded both. And then, of course, we'll look at the different kinds of presentation that we have. But those of you that have my handout, there's some that we run that are there. So I've tried as much as I can to bring them up here.
3
And
minutes
I think
more.
I want you, it's just for this okay, thank you. It's just for this COVID-19 rather. I would have wanted you to try your hands on presentation. I don't know how possible that is going to do considering this social distancing, but if you could do that, I would appreciate that. So let me just give you an assignment wherever you are in the country. Try what you can to see what you could get. Now, the COVID-19 scourge, is affecting the economy, individuals, and homes. So I want you to try your hands on this assignment, the effects of COVID-19 on consumers. Okay, so that would be very easy for you. Any consumable goods, both processed and raw food, vegetables. So I just want to give you, an open check, if I can say that, so that you just do on the ones that you can easily access, considering the restrictions on movement. So you do that and write it as a script. So you may have to talk to one or two persons, those that want to listen with your nose there and nose and mouth there, or this you can still talk to people. And you may need to send mail. You can do that on your WhatsApp too, okay? And get people's reaction, then tidy it up as a script, and let's have it. And then maybe over there you can suggest your studio management lecturers that you want to present them. So the way we do it here in Lagos, you use your handsets. You have some set that with the cameraman, or the camera crew rather will use the video to video your interviews. So the ones we did here in Lagos was very, very beautiful. You go to the markets, so many topics, but with the restrictions, I just want you to, have something practical. So please don't forget what I said, the COVID-19 scourge, the effect on consumers. So talking about consumers, like you, myself, people are their mothers, can talk a lot to mothers. Mothers are really going through getting the food on the table, the right food. Most things have doubled their prices, so that is strong. Like I said, the journalism is about the society. So you can begin to look at it from that perspective. And thank you for listening. Don't forget the assignments I gave to you. I expect them later 2 days to the next class. And like I said, if you have questions, don't forget to send to my WhatsApp. You can also send to my email. I prefer the Gmail, please. And by next week, I should have a list of all that have sent their assignments. So I'm keeping records and also awarding them. And don't forget, we will send this to the management at the end of the course. Thank you for listening. It's like we'll have more time. We'll see them. So let's quickly look at what are the 5 skills
Time
you need
off,
to be
time
a
off,
TV
time off. I'm logging you
podcaster.
out now.